Open up the meeting for Conservation Committee for September 20th, 2022. It's open, and I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes for September 6th, 2022.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. There's no public hearings, so first one up is 35 United Drive.
One's there?
No, there's
Yep, we're all set.
Give
I'll
the
take
big card.
the cards.
All right, yeah, so there you
Oh,
go.
good.
Big stack of them. All right, so good evening. For the record, Nick Fasadola here on behalf of, from Level Design Group. We're the project civil engineer here on behalf of the property owner and applicant. It's IX United Drive LLC for proposed parking lot addition to the existing United Drive, 35 United Drive facility. I have this aerial photo here that kind of shows the whole property owned by IX United. So it's a very large parcel, about 23 acres. What we're looking at today is up in this corner. So that red line's BBW. This is a perennial stream. In the back here, we're well outside the 200-foot riparian zone with any work we're going to be doing. This is existing warehouse facility, parking lot. Down here in this parcel is the soil absorption system for the septic system that treats the effluent from this existing facility here. There's a small package wastewater treatment plant located across the street. But just to kind of get everybody oriented to the property as a whole. As we come down through here, let's see here, just to get everybody in the area. This is Turnpike Street. We have West Central, Route 24, and then we have, what's up here, Central Street up in this area here. This existing warehouse is not part of the complex at 35 United. Few housekeeping items to go through. Apologize about the previous hearing. We had personnel leave the company who was kind of managing this project, and sorry to inconvenience the commission that way. That's nothing we ever do, so I apologize for that. We did recently drop off a letter and a check for the notification fee, and since the time of the application, when the application was submitted, the lease agreement for what's going to be going on back here has been executed, so the parking lot that's being constructed is going to be used by the MBTA, and we requested that they be the applicant for the notice of intent. Property owner still hasn't changed. It's still going to be...
Oh, so that he's just leasing that spot?
Correct, yeah. They're going to be leasing about 25,000 square feet of building space and the proposed parking area, which is to be constructed, which I'll get into in a minute. Some other items about the site. We're in a ACEC. This whole area right here is in the Hockomock ACEC. Natural heritage area is essentially all around the site in the non-developed areas. And we're in a Zone 2 wellhead protection area, so that's a broad overview of the other resource areas within the site. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the area. This has been a warehouse since the mid-'80s, I'd say, with multiple additions over the years. Get into my site plan. All right. So, a more detailed view here. So this is north is this way, pointing that way. So this is the area we're looking at here. So we have BBW, floodplain with an established elevation of 74 So we're nowhere near that area with our proposed work. And then we have the 50-foot no disturb zone and the 100-foot standard wetland buffer zone. This area, there's an existing fence, as you can see on the aerial photo. Well, it's hard to see, but you can see how it's gray. This is all existing gravel for this area. That area was disturbed and graded about 25 years ago when this addition was constructed. It was initially proposed to be a future building addition pad of about 20,000 square feet. Since that time, they've essentially been using it as extra truck parking or trailer parking area. Some vegetation has sprouted out through the gravel, but as far as a redevelopment project, we're calling this whole area within the chain link fence to be gravel and previously disturbed. There's an existing water line for the fire loop that runs through here, and there's a fire hydrant located in this back corner right in that area. So it's a previously disturbed area, and with the improvements that we're looking to make, we're hoping to make it better overall. You can see here I grayed out and kind of enlarge the area that we're going to be working in. So this is all, on this side, is all existing pavement, trucking area down through here for the existing warehouse. This is all the existing gravel, and up through here is just an access path through this area of pavement to get good circulation around the building. The proposal is to redevelop this area for the most part and put in a paved parking lot with 166 parking spaces for the use of MBTA. We are within the 50-foot no disturb zone in some areas, but a lot of that work is cleaning up some of the gravel which was in this area. We did a quick little overview of existing disturbed areas. So within the 50-foot no disturb, there's approximately, mostly in this area, there is 2,500 square feet of pavement. There's about 8,400 square feet of gravel that's in the 50-foot no disturb zone. And then from the 50 to 100, we have approximately 6,300 square feet of pavement and 27,000 square feet of gravel. So within the 100-foot buffer zone, there's a decent amount of hard-packed gravel surface with no stormwater management facilities treating any of that water. All that runoff from that existing gravel parking lot sheds just right down into the wetland without being treated currently. So what we're proposing is to mostly turn all that gravel into pavement, put in curbing, new stormwater management system. We have some retaining walls here to minimize some of the grading, some short walls about 4 feet high, no more than that, through this area and this area. Remove some pavement when we're really close to the existing BVW. So in here in purple, that's all pavement to be removed. And the overall areas for the proposed, we're looking at about 5,600 square feet of pavement within the 50-foot no disturb zone. And then we have some vegetated disturbance in the 50-foot no disturb zone for removal of existing gravel, kind of rehabbing that back area and to do a little bit of grading within the back area of the property. In the 50 to 100-foot zone, we have about 25,000 square feet of pavement and about 10,000 square feet of vegetated disturbance. All the vegetated areas will be loamed and seeded. It is an industrial area, so there's no major landscaping proposed. Utilities for the property, as I detailed, we have an existing water line loop that runs around the back here. Other than that, there's no other existing utilities within this area. So we're going to be installing a new stormwater management system. We have deep sump and hooded catch basins for collection points here, all throughout the parking lot. Those all tie into CDS stormwater treatment units and then go into an underground perforated pipe system for infiltration. Soils out through here are relatively good sandy loam, so we should get some decent infiltration. And then we have an outlet out towards an overflow discharge towards the existing wetland BBW zone. And we did our best to keep that in a zone which is outside of the 50-foot no disturb zone with this, because this all has to be cleared and graded to get that riprap pad in and outlet pipe at a certain elevation to make the system work. Overall, relatively straightforward redevelopment project taking a gravel area, which is being utilized for trailer storage, truck parking right now with no stormwater management, and then redeveloping it to be a well-organized parking lot, which is going to be fully treating stormwater runoff per current mass stormwater guidelines and regulations. Overall, that's the project in a nutshell. We can take any questions or address any comments.
Actually, are the utility lines in the ground or above?
Stormwater will all be underground.
The utility, I mean, for
the water?
is there anything for like the electricity or anything like that?
No.
That's
I mean,
okay.
We'll probably have a couple
didn't know if that's what
light
you meant.
poles proposed that
Okay.
they would feed those off from the building.
Okay.
They would come through there with lighting service for here and here. But overall, no other major utilities in that area.
John, you got anything?
Yes, I do. First of all, you haven't gotten a DEP file number yet?
That is correct.
Is there a reason for that?
So there is a reason. It's not really associated with the work we're doing in the back here. In the next month or so, maybe a few weeks, we'll be submitting other projects on this parcel here and redeveloping this parking lot. And those areas are within a natural heritage zone. So we submitted a large package showing the whole extent of the site improvements to natural heritage about a month ago. And they're still coordinating with DEP, and that's why the file number hasn't been issued. We're hoping to get that straightened out within the next few weeks, but that's the main thing that's holding up the issuance of the file number. Because unfortunately, the whole property is identified as 35 United Drive. It's all one deed, so it's a kind of a complicated property deed-wise. And with that being said, DEP was kind of looking at this, and they said, well, let's get everything sorted out with natural heritage for these areas, and we'll look to hopefully get a file number issued, because they really have no comments. I think one comment, I just checked the website today, was they just wanted to make sure that we're properly addressing stormwater runoff, because we're in a zone 2, and as I detailed, we're providing plenty of pretreatment prior to infiltration, and one of the practices that DEP likes to see are infiltration systems in zone 2 areas, as long as you have a minimum of 44% TSS removal. We're way above that with the deep sump hooded catch basins and the proprietary stormwater treatment units. We're probably at 80% TSS before we even get to the subsurface infiltration system. So that's why we haven't been issued a file number. Hopefully, we'll have that straightened out shortly.
All right, and another question I have is, who witnessed your water table elevations in your stormwater management system locations?
We have not done test holes in the proposed area. We are assuming essentially groundwater elevation would be roughly at the elevation of the bordering vegetated wetland, which is a good 10 feet below where we are. This area was all previously filled, so there's going to be fill material in there, so we don't anticipate there being an issue with separation to high groundwater, but we will likely have remove and replace as we get into the construction of the system. We'd have to, any unsuitable material that may have been used for fill within the footprint of the system would have to be taken out, filled with sand up to the bottom of the system to make that work. But we don't anticipate any issues, but if it's something the commission would like to see, we can coordinate with the property owner and have some test pits done.
All right, the answer to that is yes, you will need to do them. So we're gonna have to coordinate who's going to witness them. Generally, I witness them, but I'm in Maine at the moment, and I don't know when I'm gonna be back to Massachusetts at this point. It should be not too long from now, but I'll have to get back to you on that, on how we're gonna handle this. But we can't send it out for peer review if there's a problem with the water table, because you'd be spending money on a plan that might have to get changed when we determine where the water table is.
And what
Which
about,
means that if it's higher than you have estimated or assumed, we would require that system to be raised, and there's no sense having a peer reviewer go through that process, charging your client money, and then find out it has to be redesigned. So I think before we schedule a peer review on this, we need to determine where that water table is.
I mean, I think we would like to start the ball rolling. Are you going to put this out for quotes? How does the commission usually handle that type of review?
would
Well, I
you,
can tell you that the quote will be around $5,000 for this type of project. But I wouldn't advocate for the peer reviewer to start until you get your plans finalized, and I'm anticipating that you'll have to make a change. It's only a guess, but based on my experience in that area, every time I've gone out and witnessed test pits, where the engineer previously determined the water table to be, I've found signs of seasonal high water table higher than what the engineer thought. And that then required a redesign of the stormwater management system. So we can discuss that outside this meeting, but that's one of the comments that I am making for the commission. We have to continue the hearing anyway because you don't have a file number. Are you filing with the planning board for this water resource protection district that you're in?
Yes, we did.
You did? Did you get approval yet from them?
No, I believe the hearing is within a couple weeks. We just sent out the notices.
Okay, all right. So at this point, who flagged the wetlands for you?
Goddard Consulting?
And do you have their reports?
Yes, it was submitted with the letter to the agent.
Just recently?
Yes, earlier this week. It wasn't included in the application, so we noticed that and provided a copy of the delineation. So the delineation is for the whole large parcel, so I believe however it's reviewed, we'd like to keep the review to, we'd only look to approve this section of the wetland, not the whole entire, all this that's associated with the property. We'd like to keep it within 100 feet of the proposed work. So, essentially here to about here is where we look to have the wetland line approved under this application.
All right, that's reasonable and so noted, but do you have the actual flag numbers?
I do, yes, they're on the plan. I believe it's, we want to go from A49 to A97 would be what I felt to be reasonable. It's what I highlighted on this plan. So it'd be A47 to, about A97.
95, but, maybe I'm looking at the different one here.
So A47 to A97,
Correct.
roughly. Okay. All right. to the commission, I have not done a historical review of this site yet. And so I can't either confirm or argue against the fact that this was a previously approved site for a building pad and also a permitted parking area. So we'll have to hold that type of information until I have a little more chance to do some research of the commission's files on this. And there's a substantial amount of files on 35 United, but we can get that accomplished. So other than that, I don't have any concerns. And by the way, the only reason I mention that is that you're asking for work to be done within the 50-foot buffer of the wetland, and the commission generally will allow that type of thing if it's already been approved or previously disturbed with a valid permit. But if it's something that has been done without permits, the commission generally does not approve new construction in the 50-foot buffer. So we need to get to the bottom of that as well. So other than that, Mr. Chairman, I don't really have any other comments.
Yeah, and I was thinking that if it wasn't permitted or something like that, maybe a replication plan of working in the 50, if that's gonna, if it's any way possible to do on the property,
Replication of what?
for the amount of,
The disturbed wetlands.
for the disturbed, of the 50-foot buffer that you want to work in. From the corner,
Oh, so yeah, maybe in some areas that have
Yeah.
gravel that we could clean up?
clean up,
Sure, yeah,
make
no,
a replication plan if it's,
Sure, I mean, I think we could gain, like I said, we could gain, do some replication maybe in this area. Some areas where we're cutting out existing pavement.
put
In
in,
those areas, we could do some plantings if that's, I'll talk to the wetland scientist.
Yep.
If that's something the commission would like to see, to help move things along. I think that's reasonable. So just for the record, I don't believe there was a parking plan ever approved. Like I said, this is all gravel, likely prepped for building pad that's been used, maybe parked on in the past. So just so that's clear. I don't think you're gonna find a planning board parking permit. But you can check, I haven't seen anything, just to make you guys aware of my knowledge of this. But, record plans that I have seen for, the old, it was called Chadwick's, did show future expansion in that area, and obviously, water line and hydrants were installed and all that work was done. So I'm confident that there's something on file for the disturbance back here as we show. But, there are some areas that were likely not disturbed that we're asking to include in this parking lot to essentially square it off to make it usable in our attempts to redevelop this area. So that's all stuff we'd like the commission to take into consideration. And like I said, we've been more than happy to have our wetland scientists look at rehabbing, maybe go out there and look at this back area and see what can be done to rehab some of these areas outside of the limits of the parking lot we're trying to construct, to help restore some of that 50-foot, and even areas outside the 50-foot that may need a little bit of extra care based on what's been done in the past. Just to clarify, when do you think you'll be back in town for testing? Just ballpark? Is it a month? Is it weeks?
All right, so we'll have to try to figure out something that will help you out, and I will have to look at my schedule to see when I'm coming back to Massachusetts. If, let's say, that's not very realistic and too far out, we may have another way of handling it, and I think what that would be is we could have the peer review engineer firm take my place out there or there's another way of doing it as well. But I think we can discuss that outside the meeting, not to belabor it, so that, and also not to delay you. So I would anticipate that tomorrow I can communicate with you some of my ideas and see how they work out for you and your client.
No, we appreciate that,
So-
thank you.
So I would send you the email. We've had email contact in the past, so. Isn't that correct that you and I've communicated?
Possibly, or it could be somebody from my office, maybe Dan Campbell from my office. But I'll leave my email address
Okay,
tonight, and if they can pass that along to you for additional correspondence. But my only request would be if there is a process of soliciting a quote and getting that approved for review, we'd appreciate if we could start that now. We do understand this likely has to be reviewed
Yeah.
stormwater-wise, so might as well get the ball rolling on that, and then
When
we'll do the test pit as soon as we can.
do you think you get the DEP number?
I would say
'Cause
a
that's
couple
gonna be-
weeks ago, if it was up to me.
Because that's
Yeah, no,
gonna be
I-
the thing that's gonna be holding you up probably
Yeah, no,
too.
definitely, but I mean, we'd like to have, just keep plugging along and have
Yeah.
everything, have the wheels
So-
turning.
so if you have your client to bring in a check to the Conservation Commission for $5,000, that will be the deposit required for the peer reviewer.
Perfect.
If the peer reviewer only uses $3,500 of that, your client will be able to ask for the balance to be returned.
No, we appreciate that, and I'll notify the client, and we'll get a check down to the Conservation Commission office, hopefully by the end of the week, if not early next week, to get that going.
Time's
All right,
running
make
out.
the check out payable to the town of West Bridgewater, and you can leave it with the Board of Selectmen's office, and they will contact me, and then I will take care of the rest of it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we just have to continue it to, what do you think, the next meeting, or?
Well, I think it's up to the applicant,
Okay.
based on the fact that they're gonna have to do some
True, yeah.
groundwater observations. Do you think it's realistic that you'll be ready for October 4th?
I don't think there's a harm in putting it on the agenda, if not,
Continue it.
yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll coordinate offline, and see if we can get this, a date figured out, and, we'll do our best to accommodate your schedule. If that works,
Yep.
then great. If not, we'll just notify you guys and request a continuance.
All right, I would recommend continuing to October 4th.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue 35 United Drive to October 4th.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
All right, thank you for your time, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
all right. The next one we'll go to is Lincoln Street and West Center Street. General Stormwater Management Permit Road Improvement Project.
Up behind me.
Stephanie is online.
Yep.
You're all,
Hello,
all set.
Stephanie McDonald with McMahon on behalf of the developer, DeBartolo. So I just wanted to come and let the commission just have an update. Last hearing, we went over the third-party review comments, and the groundwater issue also came up. So we had looked at some of the test pits that we had, and we were going to tweak our basin design just slightly. And it turns out that we were going to have to do a little bit more than we wanted. So with the applicants, our client's approvals, we have adjusted the location. We switched the basin to about 100 feet south on the other side of the private development driveway. And that way we kept most of the shape and everything pretty much the same. I have a plan that I can share just to go over with you. So what we've done so far is, so before, let me make it a little bigger. The location was here on the left. This is the driveway entrance into the private development. So again, we shifted it down here. We had some existing test pit information there as well, which I left on. I know it's upside down. So we just had less modifications that we needed to do. We could still keep it the 3.5 foot deep, of our sediment bore bay and our infiltration basin. It did get a little bit narrower. The calculations were rerun, and everything works. What does it say? The water quality calcs and peak flows have been attenuated. It's basically the same design again, just a little bit narrower. So I've let Alan and Major know that the change was coming. They wanted the full plan sheets. So we are basically going to get them to them tomorrow to review, and also the finalized comments. So, but I just wanted to put that out there because we were on the schedule, just to let you guys know that there was less modifications needed on this side.
So those test pits are test pits that were done by whom?
Silva, as part of this project
Okay.
that we had requested originally on this side.
And I realize this is probably kind of a conceptual plan, but do you have an emergency spillway?
Yes, this is actually the final plan. I just shifted the view a little bit. But yes, the spillway is over here at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
So before
and-
the spillway was going kind of towards the roadway this way, so we kind of just mirrored where the spillway is going. This is a property line right here, so we are mindful of that, and trying to have the least grading disturbance adjacent to it, and then providing a 5-foot access along this side. We had to loop one of the contours around. We got a little bit steep here just to maximize the grading on this side. But this is all elevation 79, the thin line.
All right, and I realize that it's only a limited area of watershed, but you have runoff directed to the abutter there that's a residential property. Where it was before, if it flowed off of the berms of the basin, my thought was it would only impact the access drive of the owner of the property, which is your client, and it wouldn't be as much of a problem to your client as possibly this runoff would be to a residential owner at that location that you're now showing. So you need to have some form of directing that water so that none of it goes on to the abutter. That means generally a swale of some sort. So you've got a very tight area there, and so as far as I can see, that would be a difficult task to accomplish.
Yeah, so so the existing contours are basically parallel, or I guess so stormwater is coming this way and down back. This is back on the private development. So you're right, there is a small area right here that we've tied into existing contours that's still promoting it to go onto the site. It's very limited. If we needed to swale it, I think the only, from what our third-party review comment is, you just wouldn't have access around this. We could make it a swale to get down here. This is kind of what we did here. Private development has a basin here. That if, again, this is pretty well draining soils, like very well draining soils. So the thought is it wouldn't reach there, but again, I hear your concern, and that's something that we will bring up to the third-party reviewer, that basically we would have to take out the the maintenance access route along the side, which I don't think is too much of an issue, since the sediment forebay is usually the area that will need most of the maintenance access, and we have 10 feet around here. And then the other part was that this is just a driveway into it, so it's, low traffic, and that any maintenance vehicle could, park and use this side because it's not, a throughway if they needed to get on this side.
What is the possibility of putting a small curve in the road to allow you some more room to shift the basin in this view that you have?
You're talking about in this roadway?
Yes.
Yeah, so we had brought that up to Silva as well. They were concerned, and I'm not sure how the planning board would review if they would need additional information or to go back to them to approve that change. That wasn't actually a theory that we had, by keeping the elevation here at 80 and just down here at, I guess it was like 77, 76. And just tweak the grade so it becomes just a little bit, the high point kind of moves. They weren't sure how the planning board would take that, and if they would need to meet with them again.
What was the reason to move it from one side to the other?
So the area up here, this elevation here was in our forebay, and the groundwater elevation was higher here, so we needed to kind of move this down and make a kind of occupy a little bit more area to match our flows. We have very low flows existing, so we're capturing all this area that was not captured before. So the basin has to be a certain size. So we were occupying more, I guess, usable space on the property, and that's why we had shifted it here.
So it's
Because the groundwater elevation is lower, so we could keep that more slender shape.
So is it possible that the reason for the shift is because the owner wants more usable space on that side of the road? Am I hearing that correctly?
It was taking up, well, don't quote me on that. But yes, the shape, it was getting wider towards the bottom. We had to move it down and a little bit widen it, more than we have shown here.
So I realize that the owner of that property has concerns, and the commission is made up of town residents who are also, in many cases, familiar with abutting residents to projects, and so they can't create a possible issue for an abutter because the client or property owner doesn't want to use up space. So
I totally understand.
You got to have a swale that will direct that water that flows perpendicular to the proposed contours that you have off the berm to the property. And the way you can correct it is put a swale in there, but that means that that basin either has to get narrower and longer, or you got to move the basin.
Yeah. So I just want to clarify. I totally understand and would not put stormwater that wouldn't match a flow that was going to an abutter. If this kind of where the double line is, where I'm trying to showing red, this is all graded towards inward. So there is a small area, this area here, right, that's essentially directed towards the abutter. However, if I just change the color real quickly, if you look, this is all going here in existing conditions, right? This is going this way. Water travel's perpendicular. So, it's not, it is a slight change, and I hear you, but it's not a substantial amount where I would feel that it was, you know, adding, you know, a significant amount of stormwater to an abutter. But I hear your concerns, and yes.
Any way you
we
can move,
look into this.
any way you can move the roadway more over?
So I think the roadway would be a bigger issue, but if we could adjust the high point in the roadway, then we don't have to have, it's kind of hard to see, but there's additional grades here that we are offsetting. So if we can eliminate some of that, then we can essentially pull the basin closer to the roadway. If we can adjust like the high point, which again was an exercise, and I haven't personally dealt with the planning board here for the other project and how and what decisions were made. But as long as we're keeping the grades at the entrance of the driveway and then almost into the development before the next intersection kind of comes, not even intersection, just another throughway, that in my opinion it wouldn't be a big deal. But we can go down that path again with Silva. We did bring it up.
Even if you move it
Because-
over a few feet and keep the top meeting the bottom, fine, but just move it over to a slight curve in the middle so the retention area can move over to stretch out a little bit more so you wouldn't have that.
Yeah, we could get a little longer and a little bit.
I mean, you
closer to the curb.
move the whole system from one side to the other.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you couldn't move the roadway over a few feet to make it accommodating, well, to make it work for everything, so the water wouldn't.
Yeah, the roadway was done under the separate project, the private development project.
Yeah.
So, Stephanie, with the planning board's review, it was only a site plan review, which is not a special permit or any of that. It's kind of a advisory process that the town goes through.
Okay.
The major permitter of this project, including that access way, was the commission. And if you're filing for a change due to the stormwater, I would say that the commission could approve it, and that the planning board, as long as you weren't changing any of the site plan concerns that they have, such as site distance, safe stopping distance of that entrance onto Lincoln Street, or creating some nuisance that planning boards typically worry about, the commission would, within their purview under the stormwater permit that they issued, would be able to allow you to take that entrance road, move it out a little bit, or move it to the left a little bit in this view, and curve it back in to match up where the basin on the lower right-hand corner exists. And if that would help provide some additional room there for mitigating any possible increase in runoff from the berm, to avoid any concerns or claims from that abutter, it would probably be the best bet.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. And we'll definitely take a look at that. Would we reach out to you then? Because we obviously, I'll see who designed this road, if it was...
No, Silva
I think
did.
it was Silva, okay. Actually, yeah, because we talked to them.
Yeah, so if they could
Okay.
work with you to bump that out a little bit with a slight different angle on that entrance road, and explain to them the concern. Now, from a practical point of view, your opinion and your feelings about the impact of that small area is probably realistic, but when you have an abutter who might have an issue already and something like this is developed nearby with them, to them, I'm sorry, all of a sudden it's a big issue and it's the town's fault for approving it. So
Understandable.
if the town can avoid any of that legal problem that might arise out of such a situation, it behooves the commission to ask you to do it. It's not just being picky or arbitrary. It's because of the experience that the town has had with abutters to developments like this and the claims that they make. And many times they're legitimate and other times they're difficult to prove one way or another, and it creates quite a costly resolution to the problem. So that's my reason for bringing it up. If it's possible to do that or change the geometrical shape of the basin so that you can get somewhat of a swale to be on that side of the berm, that would definitely do it.
Okay, yes. We will look into that, for sure. Thank you.
I guess.
Could you point
So
out to me
with that said, I
exactly
think
where
we'll
the swale
continue,
would
but,
go?
So we'll reach out to Silva, we'll see the feasibility of moving this road, and then, obviously, to create the swale, we'll let them know how much space we'll need, and then can just modify. We'll keep Alan and Major in the loop.
Yep.
Did you happen to go through any of the process with the planning board on that right turn lane?
Yes, so I believe it was approved. It wasn't specifically me, but yes, it is approved because it is in our drawings, which I wanted to say. So this is the new area, which is approximated. There was a little bit in the intersection too. It's approximately, I accounted for about 4,000 square feet added, and that additional impervious will be collected mostly in this catch basin and a little bit in this one, and is now within the calculations that were rerun for this, we'll call it this new basin. But yes, this right turn lane went through.
And do you think that the planning board held a difficult, or made you go through, you or your firm go through a major undertaking to get that approved, or was it like basically one meeting type of thing?
Yes, I think it was the town and the reviewers. I think it was all agreed upon. They would prefer that.
Okay, so if the commission and you decided that new entrance road could be adjusted slightly, my assumption is that the planning board would probably want to take a look at it, and as long as it was reasonable, they would probably approve it at that meeting that something like that was presented.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if the top would have to be really adjusted, it seems like. I mean, as long as like the middle part between the top and the bottom is just moved over a little bit. I'm not talking about moving the whole top or the bottom part, just basically the middle part over. So I would not see a big problem with it, but I would suggest that would be something that would be looked at and possibly done, if not, would be done in order for us to make this happen.
And I agree, Lee, and I think if the client is reluctant to do that because they want the maximum usable space, then perhaps the client should explain that to the commission and have the commission decide how they want to handle something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be fine if we could move it here. That's not the issue to make this a little bit bigger. I think just the redesign was getting a little bit different from this shape and this thought process, you know?
It's obviously needs to be able to have usable space for any of his future plans to develop that intersection with other types of buildings or whatever. And so we don't want to just arbitrarily use up this space, but we also have to take into consideration this concern of that abutter. So if you can explain that to them, or him, or them, that's the issue.
Okay. Yes,
Thank you.
I can do that. Thank you.
So I would recommend continuing to win, Stephanie. The 4th is the next meeting, and then after that it's the 18th, is it? Yeah, the 18th.
So I'll check. I have a personal conflict on the 4th, but not to say that someone else could come in my position, and I think that we'd like to keep that moving, so it would just be an internal discussion if possible, but I can keep an open dialogue with you if we need to continue to the 18th, but if we can keep on the 4th, that would be best. Yeah.
So I'd recommend continuing to the 4th.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue Lincoln Street and West Center Street to the October 4th, 2022.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is off West Street, off Old West Street, the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation.
I received an email from the applicant's consultant today asking for another continuance to the 4th. They're still working on the additional items that I requested on that plan.
Okay. So, just continue it to the next meeting? I'll entertain a motion to continue off West Street and off Old West Street to October 4th.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one,
So the next one on the agenda is just informational that it was continued to the 4th,
okay.
just so we don't forget about it.
Okay, so, yeah, all right, so that's one then, all right. Then, Jay, that's it for that'll be next one is administrative stuff, so it'd be 46 Columbus Ave. For a certificate of compliance request?
So we've received all of the proper documents and as-built, and so I recommend issuing the certificate of compliance without a bond. The grass is growing great there.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for 46 Columbus Ave to give the certificate of compliance without a bond.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one's 561 Walnut Street, certificate of compliance request.
Okay, 561 Walnut's the old Leo Nursery site, and they have a real old file number, and we've been continuing it on a regular basis until we received the filing of the after-the-fact notice of intent that the new owner has done some work out there and is now catching up with the after-the-fact filing. So that has come in yesterday, and so consequently, I believe that at the next meeting, October 4th, we can probably close out this certificate of compliance, but until then, I recommend continuing it until the October 4th meeting.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue 561 Walnut Street
So
to
moved.
October 4th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next one is 586 Manley Street, permit violation update.
Okay, these are that ongoing stormwater violation by the current owner of 586. And as you recall, the last hearing, we looked at the new owner who is, the potential new owner of the property who's going to build the big warehouse complex, correcting the stormwater violations, removing the fill out of the buffers, and getting rid of the asphalt grinding. So this one as well is reaching the conclusion, proper conclusion that we were looking for, which is correct the problems. And so until we can get a final resolution by having the current owner sell the property to this prospective warehouse group, I would recommend continuing this item, and as well as the request for a certificate to the next meeting, October 4th.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue 586 Manley Street, both issues for the permit violation update and the request of certificate of compliance to October 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Folk Hill Way, stormwater violation update?
I contacted the current owner of the land by email, and he responded almost immediately and said that he was contacting an engineer to take care of this problem, and within a day after that, I received notice that the engineer is requesting a meeting this Thursday with some of the department heads from the town to go over a mechanism whereby that they can either get the site back to what it should be or get permitted for the activity. So I just wanted to let you know that they are working on it, that they have a cease and desist so that they can't continue doing what they're doing, but that they're working to resolve it. So that's this Thursday. I can't remember the time, but I believe it's in the morning, 11 o'clock-ish, 10 or 11. If anyone's interested, I can give you, forward you the email. So this doesn't need any action by the commission, it's just an update.
Okay. All right, the next one is 354 Walnut Street, possible stormwater wetland violation update?
Yeah, so that's the one where I discovered that there was some potential tree clearing and activity out in the wetlands behind the house because they requested a above-ground pool permit. And in my research for signing off on such a permit, I look at the aerial photos, both current and in the past, and I notice the activity. I sent a letter out, and the owner of the land called me yesterday and said that he was trying to keep the backyard area free of the brambles and the briars that his kids were running into all the time. And I explained to him that there was a process, and he obviously wasn't doing anything intentionally to break the regulation, to go against the regulations, but that he just didn't understand them. So at that point, I just, rather than have him come in and talk to you tonight, I thought it would be best that if we had your new agent go out and take a look at the site, discuss it with the owner, and I'm not trying to pass the buck here, but I thought it would be too difficult for me to do it from Maine and it's not that critical of a situation, it just needs to be resolved. And the owner understands that. And so I'm recommending that your new agent could go out, do the inspection, meet with the person. He's more than willing to talk with the new agent. I didn't give him any names at this point, but I did recommend that he talk with the new agent and come up with a solution on how to resolve this.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to send the new agent out to talk with the owner and find a possible way to figure all this out for 354 Walnut Street.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, before we go any further, you guys are here for
Yeah, Anthony, 100 Beacon Street.
Beacon Street?
John, put me on the schedule. I emailed him
We don't have you on the schedule.
for 20.
So this is 100 Beacon Street where, Anthony, is that you there?
Yeah, yeah.
So Anthony started a shed,
Yeah.
and I discovered that he was building it without a plan, and so I suggest he come in and talk to the commission and show you what he wants to do.
Yeah, so that's the, so that's the back of the property, 100 Beacon Street.
Yep.
And you can see that's the shed right there, the rectangle right there.
Yep.
And John told me to come in and talk to the board, see if it's okay to place it there. He went out there and saw it, but it passed the wetland. There used to be a fence.
Okay, is that what that line is, the wetland line?
Yeah, so I drew a post, that line right there that's the wetland, but it crossed it. But
Yep.
we didn't know at the time. 'Cause I was in Florida, my mom cut down the trees and we didn't know. And so I came down and John told us, hey, you passed the wetland. Oh, okay, so I went to the engineer and he gave me this plan and he said we just can't pass that line. So I was wondering if it's okay just to leave the shed there. It's not fully built yet.
Is it a permanent? It's not permanent there, like,
We can remove it.
you can remove it.
Yeah, the reason that we didn't want to put it there because we wanted to eventually in the future put solar panels there on a pergola. Eventually. So we want a space there for the solar panels because we don't want to put it on top of the house.
Yeah.
So that was the reason. And John told us that you should probably but you just with the solar panels that was our plan. So if it's okay. If we just leave it right there or continue to build it or...
So where you're building it now, that spot, that area right around it, did you have to clear that in order for that to be put there, or was that already cleared and as in
honestly, I
mowed?
came down here, I couldn't really see how it looked at the moment, like when it was getting cut down, I don't know.
No, is that area there before you,
It's cleared, yeah.
is it cleared, is it because you had to remove trees, or is it like grass?
Oh, it was like grass.
Is it
was
like a-
tall tree, it was like grass, like maybe like this high.
Oh, all right,
And that's what your mom cleared?
Yeah,
Or had
over there,
cleared?
yeah.
so it wasn't any trees.
So, yeah.
Doesn't look like there's much room for anything behind the house.
Can I just take a look at the plan?
Yep. Is there a reason why the shed has to be that size?
My mom bought it because she was at my brother's house and she wanted to move over here, so
Oh, so it's one that's...
yeah.
John, what do you have anything to say on it,
Take a
or?
look at the plan,
Yeah, all right.
if you want to.
Hold on.
So what's the shed for?
Storage, we have a lot of stuff in the old house. So we just moved 3 years ago, so we have a lot of stuff. And my mom has,
If you notice the date on the plan,
2011. So it's not an updated.
And if you see where the shed is, there was a replication done in that spot.
Oh,
The blueberry bushes were planted.
so that what those are, blueberry bushes?
The blueberry bushes should be there for a reason.
How long has your mother lived there?
Well, she said it was no, but I don't know if those bushes there, like, blueberries, they said it wasn't, so, yeah,
That was there. Is she, how long has she been in the house?
3 years.
Oh,
So it might have been
So-
done even before they moved.
so they were there, like, for a reason. They were put there for a reason. They should stay there for a reason.
But they're moved already, right?
But you've already cleared them.
Well, I don't know if it was big tree, I wasn't here, I was in Florida, so.
So my suggestion is, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's there for a reason. I wouldn't put it there, and I'd have to, if they were taken out, I'd put them back. You'd have to put them back. Because whoever, they must have done something, 2011 or whatever, for, it's kind of a hard, anybody else, anything to say?
I'm just still trying. So, Anthony, on your
Mhm.
drawing, the white line is the,
Oh, we were
Wetland?
planning, no, we were planning on, the white line on the other side too, over here on the short side,
Yeah.
is like a fence on.
Okay,
we have a
so
fence
that's
there
this-
already.
this post rail fence is the one that's present on this plan as well?
No, it's not, the post is not there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the fence, the fence
fen-
that's
the-
here is gone, and this is your proposed new fence?
Yeah, we plan to put a fence right there, right in the,
So your shed would actually
On
kind
this
of
side.
fence on both sides?
yeah. Yeah.
So the shed's back here.
Shed's right here. Well, they were there for a reason. I hate to say it, but I know, Carol, would you have anything to say?
It doesn't seem like he should be allowed to have the shed in there.
I know it was something that should have said,
Mhm.
come in front of us before, but unless you're gonna have to keep it out of that wetland and find out if those bushes,
Okay.
what there were there for bushes that have been removed
Mhm.
and what were there should be replaced.
John, have you seen the plan at all?
Yes, I wanted the commission to hear Anthony's presentation and not take any direct action on this because, again, it's not an agenda item. So that you can think about it and at the next meeting, we can put it on the agenda and take some formal action on it. And I do have some thoughts, and I think that that as Lee mentioned, they have no room for putting up a shed because right behind the house because those areas were proposed and shown as roof dry wells, and he ended up taking that area that jutted out a little bit, made a little loop where you mentioned the blueberry plants as the area that he could physically be able to fit that shed in. So having the fact that they're not the owner of the property that got permitted to build the house in the first place, they got left with very little room to do anything there. So I kind of feel bad for them because of the fact they have no room for even a backyard use. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't, again, advocate that you make a decision tonight because it's not on the agenda,
Yeah, okay.
but to just take what he's presented to you and your informal discussion that you've been having, and we could formulate something for him to do or not to do at the next meeting.
Okay. Anthony, I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
On this plan, it shows that there are the 2-inch PVC pipes that actually delineate
Mhm.
that wetland.
Mhm.
Are those still present on the site?
Yeah.
Those are,
So those are actually still there. So if we went out there tonight, we could see those PVC pipes in the ground
Yeah,
all the way.
yeah.
So there
So those
was,
are actually present when
when
the
this
shed was
done.
built.
Oh, when this
Um,
area was cleared, those should have been there. So that was an indication of not being able to go in that area.
Oh, my mom, they said that they couldn't see that black tube there from the
So-
street.
So this is white
Mm.
2-inch pipe that sticks out of the ground 3 feet.
Well, maybe
Oh,
not back
no,
then.
maybe not back
Maybe not
then,
back
but-
then, but there should be some indication of something saying that you weren't supposed to be going into that area.
Nah, I don't see nothing there. There was nothing there.
Okay. 'Cause-
I don't see no pipe.
We'll have to take a look at the other one,
Okay.
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah, no, it's just a question in terms of us
Okay.
thinking. We're
Because it
gonna
says it right here,
follow with John.
PVC
not
pipe,
to act, but.
and that's how we
Okay.
we marked, so to tell the homeowners, future homeowners
Mhm.
of not
Don't
going there.
Okay.
So considering it's not on the
Yeah.
agenda for tonight,
All right.
you wanna, you put on the meeting for next meeting
Yeah, I
for October
I can
4th,
do that. Can you attend, Anthony?
Yeah.
then we'll,
October 4th, what day is that?
it's
First
a,
Tuesday of the
Tuesday?
month.
Okay.
well, it'll be the third,
4th?
first and third.
Right. 4th is the first,
Okay.
right?
First,
It would be October 4th and
that keeps,
18th.
would be the next one. So
Right.
just kinda take a look out back if you can, and maybe
Yeah.
if
Well, I'm wondering
if we have
It's-
permission, maybe one of us
Mm.
could stop by and just happen to take a look out back too before the
Okay.
meeting, just to kind of see
Okay.
if
I
that's
assume,
possible.
I assume we have your contact information if we wanted to kind of just swing by.
Yeah,
John's got it.
John,
Yep.
John.
Okay.
All right then.
Yeah, you can,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank you, Anthony, so much.
Thank you for the pictures.
Taking the time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
thank you. All right, and
252 Pleasant Street,
252 Pleasant Street, John?
minor modification.
All right, what's,
252 Pleasant Street? What is it?
Treviicos
Trevi,
building.
Trevio?
Treviicos.
Treviicos.
Yeah, I know. It's an Italian company. It's a minor modification that the board approved back in early this year, and it was subject again to ZBA approval, which we got last week, and it's for adding a second driveway to the site for car entrance and FedEx and UPS, so that they wouldn't come in the truck entrance. It was a safety issue. It was a while ago, so I'm not sure. I sent John the plans electronically, so. It's for a new building, and ZBA approved the second driveway last week.
And what's the address?
252 Pleasant.
252 Pleasant Street. Okay.
It's on the left going up, next to
Okay.
that John DeSandro's place. No?
Yep, yep.
so this is the site that's, just after the, contractor's yard on Pleasant Street, heading from up to the Barrett's
Yep.
restaurant. And right now, it's just a gravel area, and it's been on hold because the applicant has asked to modify the site plan and asked to have an additional entrance road, which needed a culvert designed to allow the water in the ditch out along the street to flow properly. Apparently, they have it in, and it's not on the agenda tonight, but we can do a minor project change hearing on the 4th.
Okay. Well, make it to the 4th?
Yeah, I'll have to do it from remote, I can do it remote, right?
Okay.
Yep. That's all the other state.
So,
Remotely.
yeah, so we just have to, you know, get,
That's pretty quick.
after we all said, we put it on the agenda for the
Okay, quick.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
25 River Street.
25 River Street,
Not on
John.
the agenda, But we need to get this thing done. So I just brought it in.
25 Beacon Street, I'm sorry.
River Street.
25 River Street. We did an enforcement at the last meeting because his client owns both 25 River Street and 26 West Center.
Which is
And at that time, I noted the fact that we had a outstanding violation at 25. So David has prepared a plan to remediate the stormwater violation. His client has paid the fine that he owed the town, and I'll let David give you a presentation if he cares to, but I've explained to him that I think it was a well-done plan, and I appreciate the fact that they acted so promptly.
So the Joseph Sod, who owns the property, he's had guys parking here, and it turned into dirt. So this was a closed out certificate of compliance septic repair, and after the certificate of compliance and the grass grew, guys parked there, turned into dirt, and it's flowed a little. It's not flowing directly in, but you can see the dirt going around the gutter line. So the situation needed to be taken care of. So this area, the area that I have outlined in these two hatch areas, they're all dirt. It's all dirt that just flows out. What I'd like to do is do a 4-inch dig out right along the existing pavement and fill it with stone, and just have that as a wider driveway parking area. And we're going to spread the fill out on this slope here, bring in 6 inches of lumen seed, plant it. Silt fence will be up until everything is stabilized. And I talked to the contractor, he's already going to have silt socks in with both catch basins. So he'll clean those catch basins and put silt socks in.
Will he clean it first?
I hope so.
Okay.
And the tenant knows not to park on the new grass.
Yeah, we're gonna keep the silt fence up there.
We're gonna have to put up the PVC piping around it?
With your 3 feet high.
Hey, 3 feet, man.
Yep.
So that's basically it. It's a real basic fix. And what he wants to do is eventually tear this building down and put up something new. This is an old building. It's a flat roof, and it can't be repaired. It needs to be replaced. So this would be the downtown district, and eventually maybe we'll come in with something that's a little bit nicer there.
Yeah, get it fixed up now, it'll make it a lot easier later on down the road. No, that looks good to me too. Very nice.
So I kind of told the contractor that he has to hang the DEP file number up again, but he already got a certificate of compliance for it. So there is no DEP file number, but we'll make sure that we do an on-site inspection with the town to make sure that that silt fences are properly installed before construction starts.
It sounds good.
Thank you, David.
All right, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple other items that you had tabled at the last meeting, voting to have a clerk for the commission.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So the only available member at the time that could be clerk is Carol, and she was hesitant or reluctant to put her name out there for a nomination as a clerk. So until you get another full member appointed to the commission, perhaps unless Steve wants it, you should table and not have a clerk until such time as somebody wants to fill that position. It's not mandatory, but to have the clerk, because they really don't do all that much as far as any routine or anything like that. I guess it's just a title. So you could either table it or decide not to have a clerk.
That's something, is it something, we never really had it, right? So
It was just a title.
Just the title.
Mo was the clerk, and the only time that his position required him to do anything was one time when he had to be chairperson for the commission. And he was next in line, so that made him the chairperson for the evening at that particular meeting when both Tim and Lee were not available. So that was really the only duty of the clerk at the time. And all the time I worked for the commission, that's all Mo ever had to do was fill in as chairperson when the other two were absent.
And so if for some reason I'm not here and, well, Tim's the agent now, we're gonna be the agent,
And Mo's not here.
and Mo's not here, who would,
If you or Mo weren't here, then what the committee would do at that night would be elect an acting chair
okay, so you
of
just,
the members that were present.
okay, so I mean,
So, I mean, there's a way around it.
all right.
It's not,
So it's not like we need the clerk position to?
no.
Okay, so I'm saying that we could just get rid of that altogether, I'm thinking. That's all right with you guys.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Do we have to motion on that, or?
Yeah, why don't you?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to just eliminate the clerk's position from the board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then we had a question about Vital Avenue, the land that was auctioned by the town, and I contacted the owner.
Yep.
And explained to them that they need to file a stormwater permit, and they have alerted their engineer who is going to do that. So I'll keep on them so that that they don't let this thing drag on and all of a sudden we find out there's a house there.
I just went up there tonight, and I see that they've brought in some fill for like a roadway off the road there to be able to drive a truck or something in on, and then they've got a big pile of stumps or brush and all that stuff in the middle of it. Not all stumps, but a good big pile of it. So I'm assuming that it's probably to back maybe a truck in there so they can load it up and get the stuff out of there. I'm not sure. But there's no silk fence around anything or for the runoff or anything like that.
Did you notice any tracking onto the pavement of sediments and mud?
I did not, but I could have been washed away last night.
All right. So I guess it behooves me to stay right on top of them and say before any other activity occurs, you've got to get that permit in.
Okay. And anything on that Scotland Street there?
So 153 Scotland Street, I went through the building sign-offs for all of the activities for the farmer's porch, the garage, the driveway, all of that. And what they did is they always had something that was less than 5,000 square feet, which triggers the stormwater application. So I included in your meeting documents tonight something called segmentation. And it's a document that if you like the concept, we could tweak it a little bit. And what it says is that if you're going to do a project that has 5 items that you're going to build on the property at 5 different times, it's considered segmenting the property, the project. And at the time that anything more than 2 of the items that were segmented occurs, anything more than basically the first one, that the commission could look at the project, including the one that got away without having a permit, and the second one, combining them into enough to require the commission's approval. I don't know if I made that clear, but it's basically saying that once the project has multiple filings or permit requests, and the aggregate of those filings, it reaches the 5,000 square foot, whether it's the second or third project, it's considered all one project and has to be gone through a permit process with the commission. And then, as you know, if after they've got a order of conditions or an approval that has conditions, that if they come in with additional projects, it has to be approved by the commission first. So it locks them into coming back for the commission for projects 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever they might do afterwards. So in the nutshell, I reviewed the different permits that were done for 153 Scotland Street, and they all came under the 5,000 square foot threshold. But if you had a regulation change that included the segmentation regulation, then you would have been able to put your foot down and say you need to go through the permit process with the commission, even though the first project was only 4,999 square feet. The second project is another 500 square feet, so now it's over the threshold, and you need to go through the process with the commission for approval for that smaller project or any subsequent ones after that.
Yeah, because that house is 3 times the size as the original one. And not to be saying anything smart or anything, but I'm just wishing in the beginning we would have enforced them on taking out the fill right from the beginning, and then that would have probably made it a lot easier for us if he had anything to decide on building any more onto that house.
Yeah, and let's say that a person can't conceivably predict what they're going to do on a parcel of land, so that the first item that they do doesn't kick in the stormwater regulations, but the second one does. They should have no qualms if we had the segmentation regulation to go through the process, because they're not trying to get away with anything, and you have the right to require it. So I think it's a good thing for everybody.
So is this something we can vote on right now and put it in, or we have to?
No, we would have to kind of refine the wording on that document that I gave you tonight.
Okay.
Hold a public hearing, so advertise it, hold a public hearing, and then vote it in as part of the stormwater regulation. So it would be another item in the stormwater regulation.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
John, I have a question with regards to that. Just the about 7 lines down, it says including but not limited to time interval between phases. Should we have something that like clarifies the time? You know, if I do something this year and then I end up doing a project a year and a half or so later, there's a word I can't even think of. Is there like a statute of limitations on the time?
There are segmentation regulations within the state codes for different environmental regulations, and I kind of took some of the wording out of those, and it appears that none of them have a time limit, so that if you do it this year and then wait 5 years and do some more, it doesn't seem as if there's any grandfathering or, as you said, statute of limitation. I think it would be important for the commission to come up with some wording that would allow that, so that if it happened within the 5 different projects happen over 5 years, one each year or within the 5-year time period, then it kicks in. If it's beyond that and it's 10 years later, I think it starts the whole thing all over again. So I like your observation, and I think we should put something in it that would give some time factors for people, because in 10 years, you could have multiple owners.
Right.
I was thinking.
Yeah, and the cumulative effect, obviously, is there. I build a shed, I add a porch, and all of a sudden that ends up at 5,000 feet. So I agree with the intention. It's just like, kind of as you said, like there's got to be some sort of statute of limitation or a
change of
caveat
ownership.
in there, of like a change of ownership,
True.
resets the clock, something like that.
To me, it would be change of ownership would be the clock.
We have to be careful on the change of ownership, because for most residential projects, you're probably not going to have this, but on some commercial projects, they could form LLCs and transfer from one LLC to another, even though it's all the same manager of the LLC,
Yep.
and get around this, and you don't want that to happen. So we have to try to, again, prevent a technicality like that from occurring, but yet not hurt somebody who's going to sell their property, and then the new owner comes in and said, gee, I'd like an in-ground pool.
So,
And you've already permitted a big addition to the house that allowed the current owner to sell it to this new one that wants to put an in-ground pool. That new owner can't be penalized because of what the other one did. So I understand that. I think that's where the wording has to be tweaked so that we can account for these different scenarios, and I think it can be done.
could you just maybe even specify for like residential or commercial, or this is
Yeah,
for?
it could be a different one for commercial and for homeowners.
Yeah.
So like 1A, 1B
Yeah.
kind of a thing?
Yep. So I can work on that for you.
Good idea. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. So I guess all we have. Oh,
So I think I had all the other topics that I'd like to report back to you taken care of, and it seems as if we did everything on the agenda. So at this point, it's other business that the commission members might have that's come up since last meeting. None?
I don't think so. We should-
So then it's just signing documents, and hopefully we got most of them into that folder for signing.
Looks like there's a
Yep.
lot in there. Yeah. Especially the last page. Okay, so we'll just
You can,
start signing.
yeah, you can adjourn if you want.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good night, John. Good night,
Good
Steve.
night.